number of MEPA cases are rapidly increasing. This virus has been linked to severe behavioral changes, often resulting in aggressive and dangerous...
Happy 4th of July, everybody. America's birthday. A time of celebration. A time of remembrance for those who gave their lives so that we may never know what it's like to be British. Fireworks, barbecue, and some good old American war films. Or games. It's all here on this special day. Too bad I can't enjoy it though, cause someone released an ancient curse on the world that turned everyone into zombies. But hey, at least I'm safe in my house. I made sure nothing can get inside, especially Hollywood celebrities.
Hello!
Oh no, not again. How did you get in here?
I want you to review my movie, The Patriot!
Well, I was gonna make a video on the Minecraft movie. What the fuck, you?
そう、私だ。今すぐ映画を作らないと、悪を絶対に公開しないぞ。
Oh, come on! Revenge. You know it, you love it. Revenge is everywhere in movies and other forms of media, whether it be in the main plot of John Wick or Berserk, a main character motive in Avatar, or a convoluted, underutilized mess like in Demon Slayer. Revenge can make for some great stories and character development, which is where The Patriot comes in. A revenge movie set during the American Revolution, where the main character hunts down the man responsible for the murder of his loved one, something Assassin's Creed 3 would shamelessly steal 12 years later. Is this a good movie, or is it lay bad? Let's not waste any more time and dive right into this. The movie begins at a farm on a bright sunny day where everyone here is happy and full of joy. No, seriously, why is everyone so happy? These are slaves, and these are children that see a mailman and they're just running through a cornfield while giggling with glee. Anyways, we cut to the main character of the movie, Benjamin Martin, played by none other than Mel Gibson, which is why I will only refer to this character as Mel Gibson for the rest of this video. Mel Gibson's children go to him while he's making a chair, which then breaks when he goes to test it, causing him to have a fit of anger and further destroying the broken chair. Oh my, I hope he doesn't take this kind of anger out on his kids. So anyways, the two oldest kids of the family open up the mail, and the Joker reads from the newspaper, finding out that the colonies are going to declare independence from Britain. We then cut to Charleston, where the Martin family visits Aunt Charlotte, and this is going to be one of the only times where I mention this character until probably the end or the middle. So anyways, the Continental Congress levies a vote for independence, where Mel gives probably one of the best and most nuanced quotes in the entire film.
Why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away?
Spoilers, this line will literally have nothing to do with the rest of the film or Mel Gibson as a character. So then the levy passes, everyone is happy, and Mel Gibson finds out that Joker is joining the Continental Militia. After a time skip, we get back to the Martin household, where Mel's son puts on a military uniform, to which his father tells him to take it off. His son then asks the question, what happened at Fort Wilderness? A question asked to Mel multiple times throughout the film. Mel Gibson doesn't answer, and we cut to a scene of his children stumbling upon a stream with the bodies of dead soldiers floating in it. The presence of the deadly war slowly snaking its way towards the peaceful farm, being emphasized further as later that night, gunfire could be heard from a distance. Anyway, we cut to a scene where the kids are at dinner.
They'll probably kill us men. And do Lord knows what to you women.
What the fuck? Then, Joker shows back up at the Martin household, wounded and exhausted. Mel Gibson helps him and asks him, why so serious? I'm gonna stop, I promise. I promise. Then, the worst had arrived. A battle raging outside the Martin household, with rebels fleeing the onslaught of the British army. Daytime arrives, and we see that Mel Gibson has turned his home into a hospital, where he, his slaves, and his young children, strangely enough, all care for the wounded of last night's battle. Then, the main villain shows up. Alright baby, it's time for a cool, compelling villain for our main character to fight, and he's just evil. Okay. The main villain then gives Mel's slaves the opportunity to fight for the British.
Sir, we're not slaves. We work this land. Freedmen.
What? Anyway, the main villain moves on, and we never see these slave characters ever again. So then the villain orders Mel's son to be arrested and hung, but Mel Gibson protests. The villain then points a gun at him, and then to his children, because, well, he's evil. The villain then kills one of Benjamin's sons, orders his men to commit a war crime, and then pieces out. Enraged by the death of his son, Mel Gibson runs into his burning house and dashes to his room, opening his John Wick chest from the opening scene. He grabs some weapons and heads back outside. He tells his two sons to follow him, and they head into the woods. And it's here we are blessed with one of the worst action scenes I've ever seen in a movie. We cut to the woods, and Mel and his sons set up a spot near a road to ambush the soldiers transporting Heath Ledger. Once the British soldiers got into position, they opened fire, causing the soldiers to just stand in place out in the open and not scatter or get behind any kind of cover? What? So then the British return fire, if you can even call it that, I guess. Like, what are these soldiers doing? They're acting like they've never been in a firefight before. Charge up the hill, or try a flanking maneuvers, or fucking duck behind cover! There is no way that British soldiers, the most formidable force in the world, only second to the French army, would act like Ubisoft NPCs. Their officers, dead or not, Mel Gibson and two little kids hidden behind some trees or not, they would act like real soldiers, identify the threat, and neutralize with extreme prejudice. Anyways, all the soldiers are very easily dispatched by Mel and the two kids, who seem to be trained by Navy SEALs or something, and Heath Ledger is saved. So after Mel has a very disturbing meltdown and mutilates a fleeing soldier, wait, goodness gracious, this is the protagonist? They all return safely to what's left of their home, and we get a funeral scene for the kid character, who we only knew for like 20 minutes, and it's really sad. We then cut to Mel Gibson and Heath Ledger arguing. Heath Ledger is all like, oh, I gotta go back to the militia, and Mel Gibson is all like, no, I don't want you to go, you'll die, and that's about it. Mel Gibson leaves and joins up with Heath Ledger. The two watch a battle, and yeah, that's about it. We then cut to the main villain, or more accurately, we cut to General Cornwallis and another high-ranking officer talking about how evil he is and that he doesn't like following orders while he's in the same room with them. You know, lazy writing. Developing the main villain? Yeah, no, who needs that? He's evil, shut up. We then cut to Heath Ledger picking up a Betsy Ross flag, and then we meet a demon. I mean a Frenchman, sorry, it's hard to tell them apart. Mel then joins the militia, and oh yeah, he also puts Heath Ledger under his command, literally putting him on a leash just because he doesn't want him to die or something, and the militia leader just agrees with it. Amazing protagonist movie, just give him whatever he wants, no hurdles. Nice. We then cut to the main villain being told to stop being evil. We then cut to Heath Ledger recruiting people, but the guy from Star Trek Deep Space Nine tells him to fuck off. But after a heartfelt speech from the love interest for Heath Ledger, the recruitment goes very well. Oh yeah, baby, we're going down the Zack Snyder approach and we're putting together a team to fight a common enemy. I can't wait to see all these characters and how they develop throughout the film. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot I'm watching The Patriot. Yeah, all of the characters in Mel Gibson's militia have the personality of wallpaper, and the only time I will mention any of them is at the conclusion at the end of the video and when they get capped. So then the guy from Star Trek Deep Space Nine says,
"The shepherd must tend his flock."
Yeah, that. And Mel Gibson recruits more ensemble characters in the bar, and then we cut to Mel and his newly formed team as they set up camp in a swamp. Here we see Mel melting tin soldiers, a seemingly infinite number of them, which belonged to his son before he got shot. This is actually a pretty cool little detail that I liked, using the toys of his son to kill the men responsible for his death. But that's really all it is. Other than that, it's not all that important. There's nothing really impactful about it since we never knew the kid character, so this really doesn't offer anything to the story or characters, which kinda sucks. So then, the next day happens and the team commits war crimes, and then Mel Gibson is all like, don't commit war crimes, and the French guy's all like, oh, I like committing war crimes because I have a tragic backstory. And then Mel Gibson's all like, fuck you, I'm in charge here, and that's about it. So then, immediately after committing war crimes, they loot a carriage with two dogs in it, and they joke about eating them while happy music plays in the background. Jesus Christ, what is this tonal shift? Back at camp, some racism happens, and then Heath Ledger says one of the most ironic things I've ever heard in a film.
But we'll have a chance to build a new world. A world where all men are created equal under God.
Yeah, that didn't age very well, did it, bud? Mel Gibson then hypes up General Cornwallis as a man who knows more about warfare than anyone there. oh boy, I sure do hope the movie actually portrays him as a threatening and competent villain and doesn't reduce him to a bumbling, idiotic beta male who's more whiny than those people. Right? So anyways, we cut to General Cornwallis, who is a bumbling, idiotic beta male whining about not wearing fancy coat. And then 9/11 happens. So then after some mildly infuriating tonal whiplash, literally no one is acting surprised here. They're all wearing the same face of just mild annoyance. A ship exploded not too far from you, and you just cannot be bothered to care. We cut to the racist character reading a paper on a billboard saying that General George Washington will free and pay any slaves who choose to fight for the colonial militia, which is pretty accurate to real life. Slaves were given an opportunity to fight for either the British or the colonial militia in exchange for their freedom, but of course this was a lie, and when the British ultimately lost, many of those slaves who fought for both the militia and the British Army were just returned back into slavery, and then years later, slavery would be one of the main causes of a bloody conflict that still scars America to this very day. So, yeah. Pretty ironic, all things considered. So then we cut to nighttime, and we finally get the answer to the age-old question. What happened at Fort Wilderness? Well, I'll tell you. During the French and Indian War, the French and the Cherokee committed a war crime, so in retaliation, Mel Gibson and some others found the French and the Cherokee at Fort Wilderness, and committed a war crime against them. And I don't mean like executing surrendering soldiers. Oh no. I mean they sadistically tortured and murdered every single one of them and mutilated their corpses. I quote, "We placed the heads on a pallet." You know, I'm starting to figure that this Mel character isn't very mentally stable, you know, if his actions in the movie didn't already make that clear enough. I'm surprised all of his kids were still alive and didn't end up becoming serial killers by the time this movie started. I think Mr. Villain Guy did that one kid a favor by capping him. Moving on, Mel Gibson and his team are ambushed by the main villain, who overwhelms them and captures a good number of them. Mel Gibson then goes to a British base and speaks directly to General Cornwallis. And in movies similar to this one, you'd get like the main character making a deal with the antagonist, both on an equal playing field, the two fighting to control the conversation, using their wits to get what they both want, you know, Game of Thrones stuff. But you must remember that this is the Patriot, and in this movie, suspenseful, engaging writing isn't allowed. So the scene is just Alpha Chad Mel putting Cornwallis in his place like the beta male cuck he is, never once trying to take control of the conversation or making any kind of intelligent play whatsoever. He just does whatever Mel tells him, and he's as non-threatening as possible. Thanks, movie. I hate it. So then Mel frees his compadres, and they all go free. I'm glad my time isn't being wasted. So then, Ohio. And that's about it. And now, we arrive at the main event. The sole reason I refuse to take this movie seriously, and why I made this video. So, you know Mr. Evil Villain Guy, right? Well, he goes to a small town. A town that is visited by Martin and his team throughout the film. And once there, he rounds up the entire populace and shoves them all into a church. And then after doing this, he interrogates them, and upon getting the information he wants, he burns the church down, killing everyone inside of it. Something Come and See would shamelessly steal 15 years prior. Some time passes, and Mel Gibson and his team come back to the town and are horrified to discover what had happened. Stricken with grief, one of the characters that I don't remember the name of turns his pistol on himself. Truly a sad day for Mel and his comrades. Now this is the part of the video where I explain why this scene fucking sucks. The villain, a British officer, massacres an entire town just to get some intel on Mel Gibson and his team, and he does it in a way that would make Joseph Stalin blush. Plus, this isn't even the first time he's done something like this. He burned down the Martin home in the beginning of the film, and then ordered the murder of wounded soldiers, and then right before he burned down the church, he went to the home of the aunt character, Aunt Charlotte, and burned it down as well. This was then followed up by the scene we're at right right now. And I did make a joke about this before, but this scene feels so much like it was ripped from the movie Come and See, a movie where German soldiers shove an entire village population into a barn and burned it to the ground with all the villagers inside of it. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with this movie having similarities with Come and See, so why am I mad? Well, because in The Patriot, it makes absolutely no fucking sense. In Come and See, when the Germans massacre those people, it made sense and was handled realistically because instances of this did actually happen in real life. And they're Nazis, it's not surprising they did something like this. But in The Patriot, the villain has absolutely no reason to do this against British citizens. There was absolutely no logical reason for him to commit such a heinous crime. If he really wanted to use the town against Mel and his band of cardboard cutouts, then he should have occupied the town and taken the occupants hostage. That way he can have something to bargain with and have leverage over the main characters. And oh no, it's Far Cry 6 all over again. This scene is just so over the top that it completely ignores the fact that he's already committed a double arson and a few homicides before this. We already know how far he's willing to go to kill children and the defenseless without any hesitation or remorse. The movie has already shown us how evil he is. Showing us a third time just comes across as cheap shock value. I think this scene and subsequently the villain would have been fine if, say, he was written differently. Nothing fancy, just maybe he's an officer rising through the ranks and then is court-martialed by Cornwallis after shooting the kid. After this, he goes rogue, committing every evil act imaginable to kill the man he believes caused his fall from grace. He would have still been bland, but it would have definitely been much better and compelling than just, he's evil. So anyways, Heath Ledger then gets himself killed and it's really sad. Mel Gibson has a cry, and after that we get to the final showdown between Mel and the main villain. In the midst of a raging battle, Mel and the villain fight, trading blow after blow, until finally, Mel is victorious. The battle is won, and the British retreat. The movie then does a time jump to the war ending, and Mel and his family go back to their original home to see it being rebuilt. The camera zooms out, and the movie ends. So, what did I think of The Patriot? It's alright. It's definitely a good turn-your-brain-off type of film, but when the brain is on, this movie is average at best and atrocious at worst. None of the characters were compelling in any way, being very bland and their personalities almost non-existent. Things like music, fight choreography, and the cinematography were very generic and just uninteresting all the way, and the whole film played itself far too seriously, being way more dramatic than it actually was. The characters were a huge letdown for me. None of the Martin children were memorable. I don't even remember any of their names aside from Heath Ledger, because, well, he's Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's character was this patriotic guy who wants to fight for his nation, but the film doesn't really do anything with him other than give him a love interest who only shows up for like 3 scenes before she's eventually killed off. The ensemble characters are also very hollow, and the film does absolutely nothing with them. None of them developed as characters, and they all had the depth of, say, Ubisoft NPCs. There was an interesting idea they tried with the black character and the one racist guy, but all they do is have the black guy save him, and he's just magically not racist anymore. But moving on from the characters, trust me, there wasn't a lot to work with anyways. I think the worst and most disappointing character in this movie would have to be Mel Gibson's character. Mel Gibson loves his family, and rightfully so. Any father would. However, in this movie, his love for his children comes across as cowardice. You see, in the scene where he is speaking to the Congress, he says that he doesn't want to go to war because of his children and that if he dies, there would be no one to care for them. I have to ask, what about Charlotte, the aunt character? Surely she is the best bet for your children in the event that you die. He acts as if he's the only father in the world, and when the movie rightfully calls him out, twice, he doesn't care. going to war to make sure your children are safe from war is arguably more brave than cowering behind them like some sort of morality sandbags. He hides behind his children because he is a coward. If his son had never got shot by the villain, if that battle had never occurred outside of the Martin home, Mel's revenge quest, this movie, none of it would have ever happened. Mel would still be at his farm, chilling with his kids and slaves. Oh, fuck off! Mel's character is also very unfitting with the title. Going back to the Congress scene, Mel says one of the most nuanced lines in the entire film. Why would I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? This line is a really good line, and shows that Mel sees the king and the Congress as the same. He distrusts kings just as much as he distrusts politicians. But this is the only time he displays any kind of complex or nuanced belief. Outside of this one scene, he's just on the revolutionary side all the way. And when Heath Ledger dies, he's 100% on the American side without any build-up or development. When he was in the Congress meeting, he said things that would have had him branded as a loyalist, and I think the film would have been far more interesting if they made Mel a loyalist, and as the film went on, had him slowly change stances and decide that the colonies should be independent. He wouldn't necessarily have to join the rebel cause, but simply fighting to keep his children safe would have been so much better than what we got. Having him ride into battle with the American flag in hand doesn't make him a patriot. I have no idea why Mel cares about being a patriot. Heath Ledger was far more patriotic than Mel, albeit I have no idea why he's patriotic either, but that's besides the point. Mel didn't join the militia simply because he wants freedom from Britain. He did this purely out of revenge. Mel's character is not patriotic. It's selfish and hypocritical. He is a mentally unstable murderer who puts his children in harm's way, which cost the life of one of his children, so he lashed out at the British for his mistake. The Patriot had so much potential, but ended up being a mess of ideas that wasn't given enough time to be fleshed out. 5 out of 10. Not bad, but not good either. So, that was The Patriot. An interesting watch, wouldn't you say, Mel?
That was the greatest movie I've ever seen.
It was alright, I guess. Hey, wait a minute. Where did Avuchan go? Uh-oh. Was that the power? Oh no, without the power there's no way to keep those things out!